If your brain feels stuck in a loop, replaying conversations, decisions, worst-case scenarios, that's not productive thinking. That's rumination. And it quietly drains your focus, sleep, and confidence. Today, I'll show you a simple 5-minute system to interrupt it fast. But let's slow down for a second. Rumination sounds complicated, but it's actually simple. Imagine your mind chewing on a thought the way you chew gum, over and over without ever swallowing it. That's rumination. It feels like problem solving, but usually nothing gets solved. You just replay a conversation. You second-guess a decision. You imagine what could go wrong. Productive thinking moves toward action. Rumination just circles. And your brain does this for a reason. It hates unfinished business. When something feels uncertain or emotional, your attention keeps returning to it, trying to close the loop. But here's the catch. Attention hates a vacuum. If you don't give it a job, it invents one. Often, worrying. And the more emotional the thought, the stickier it becomes, like a mental sticky note you can't peel off. That's why rumination can disrupt sleep, increase stress, and make focus harder. So the goal isn't to stop thinking, it's to learn how to guide your thinking. And that's where this framework comes in. Research consistently links chronic rumination with poorer sleep, lower well-being, and a higher risk for anxiety. And work rumination, that's basically unpaid overtime for your brain. Psychology research on mental detachment shows that properly disconnecting is what helps us recover. Rumination and sleep feed each other in a vicious cycle. More rumination leads to worse sleep, and worse sleep leads to more rumination. It's a loop. Think of your attention like your phone's battery life. If you don't consciously assign it a task, rumination will assign one for you, and it's a major power drain. The psychologist Daniel Kahneman, a Nobel laureate, described attention as a limited resource with a finite capacity. Where you aim that limited resource determines your performance, your mood, and your reality. So the goal isn't thinking less, it's directing your thinking better. Here's a quick test. Don't think about a pink elephant. You just did, didn't you? Your attention automatically fills empty space. It's a feature, not a bug. So instead of fighting your thoughts, which is like trying not to think about that elephant, you need to learn how to gently redirect them. So, what's the real cost of letting your mind spin on this hamster wheel? It's not just a feeling of being stuck. The consequences are measurable and significant. Psychology research consistently links chronic rumination with a cascade of negative outcomes that can erode your quality of life. First, there's poorer sleep. When your mind is racing, your body can't rest. You might lie awake for hours replaying events, or wake up in the middle of the night with a jolt of anxiety, unable to get back to sleep. This naturally leads to lower well-being. A constant state of mental agitation drains your energy, making it harder to feel positive, engaged, and present in your own life. It's like trying to enjoy a sunny day while a storm cloud follows you everywhere. And perhaps most critically, it leads to an increased risk of anxiety and depression. Rumination trains your brain to focus on threats and negativity, creating well-worn neural pathways that can be difficult to escape. And when these thought loops are about your job, that's a special kind of problem. Work-related rumination is basically unpaid overtime for your brain. You've clocked out, but your mind is still on the clock, wrestling with projects, replaying meetings, and stressing about deadlines, all without compensation and at the expense of your personal time. This is why research on psychological detachment is so important. It shows that the ability to mentally disconnect from work is not a luxury. It's a fundamental requirement for recovery and sustained well-being. Without it, you never truly recharge. The relationship between rumination and sleep is particularly damaging because they feed each other in a vicious cycle. More rumination directly disrupts your ability to fall and stay asleep. Your mind is too active, too loud for your body to power down. Then, that poor sleep makes you more vulnerable to rumination the next day. When you're tired, your brain's executive functions, like emotional regulation and focus, are impaired. This makes it harder to dismiss intrusive thoughts and easier to get pulled back into the loop. It becomes a downward spiral where each problem reinforces the other, digging you deeper into a state of exhaustion and anxiety. Breaking this cycle is essential, and it starts not by fighting your thoughts, but by understanding how to direct them. Think of attention like battery life. If you don't assign it a task, rumination assigns one, usually replaying problems without solving them. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman described attention as limited capacity. Where you aim it determines performance. The goal isn't thinking less, it's directing thinking better. Quick experiment. Don't think about a pink elephant. You just did. Attention hates a vacuum. If you don't give it a job, it invents one. Here's a reset. The C.L.E.A.R method, 5 steps, about 5 minutes, designed to move you from looping to doing. C.L.E.A.R framework. Capture everything on your mind. No formatting, no editing, just dump it out. Think of it like clearing RAM. Your brain isn't a productivity app. Stop using it as storage. Label each item: decision, plan, worry. Each needs a different response. And here's why labeling helps. Brain imaging studies show that simply naming emotions reduces threat reactivity and increases cognitive control. You're turning a vague feeling into something manageable. Clarity lowers emotional load. Now evaluate constraints. What information is missing? What's necessary? What's just nice to know? Overthinking thrives on undefined uncertainty. Constraints shrink cognitive load. Clarity beats reassurance every time. In a moment, I'll walk through a real example step by step. But first, the action step most people skip. Act on the smallest next step, not the whole project. Just one move. Start a 10-minute sprint. Time limits reduce perfectionism, lower overwhelm, and create momentum. Motion reduces rumination. Progress quiets the loop. Review briefly. What moved? What's next? Schedule it. Even small progress signals safety to your brain. Completion reduces stress. Example: I keep avoiding pitching a client. Capture: fear of rejection, pricing uncertainty, missing one statistic. Label: decision plus plan. Evaluate: missing data identified. Act: 10-minute draft started. Review: draft exists. Next step scheduled. That's forward motion, not perfection, progress. Rumination feeds on ambiguity. Labeling reduces perseveration. Small time-bounded actions restore executive control. Psychological detachment research shows structured disengagement improves recovery. You're not eliminating thinking, you're directing it. Pause here. 5 minutes. Capture. Label. Evaluate. Act. Review. Set a timer. You can use your phone or watch, whatever you use. Try it once. You'll feel the difference. So, let's bring this all together. The core idea isn't to fight your thoughts or to achieve some mythical state of an empty mind. That's a battle you'll never win. Instead, the goal is to become a skilled director of your own attention. Rumination thrives in ambiguity and inaction. It's your brain's default, but unproductive, attempt to solve problems by circling them endlessly. It feels like work, but it drains your focus, disrupts your sleep, and quietly erodes your confidence without moving you forward. The C.L.E.A.R framework is your tool to interrupt that loop. It's a structured process that transforms vague, looping anxiety into concrete, manageable tasks. By capturing your thoughts, you externalize them. By labeling them, you defuse their emotional power. By evaluating constraints, you define the problem. By acting on the smallest possible step, you create forward momentum. And by reviewing, you build a system of trust with yourself. You're proving that you can close loops, not just spin in them. This isn't about massive life changes. It's about small, deliberate shifts in how you process the noise. If this framework brought you even 10 minutes of mental clarity today, consider subscribing to Clarity vs. Insights. Every week, we go deep on the mechanics of the mind. We break down powerful mental models, hidden cognitive biases, and practical psychology tools that help you think with greater precision and calm, always without the fluff. We focus on the how, not just the what. And for your final action today, drop your smallest next step in the comments below. What is the one tiny thing you can do to move forward on something you've been ruminating on? Don't overthink it, just name it. I'll read through and help shrink it once if it still feels too big. Thank you for your attention. See you next week.